Welcome back. A major deadline is fast approaching. Democrats now have less than a week to comply with the DNC's demands to overhaul voting laws in New Hampshire and repeal the state law that mandates the first-in-the-nation primary be right here in the Granite State. The law is going to stay where it is on the books, and Democrats don't hold power in Concord, so the changes the DNC wants aren't happening either. Meantime, you've got Republicans all over the state meeting voters and making their case for change in 2024. It's a lot to deal with for the man in charge of the New Hampshire Democratic Party, Ray Buckley, who's our guest this morning. Thanks for being here, Chairman.
Great to be here on this great Memorial Day weekend.
Right. So let's talk about the Republicans first, because I know you probably want to, a lot of Democrats have wanted to weigh in on what's going on here. We have had a lot of Republicans on the show. So what's your assessment of the emerging Republican field that we're seeing so far?
Well, we've yet to see anyone catch on and actually be a true, anyone giving any trouble to Donald Trump. They are trying to out-Trump each other, and it just doesn't seem to be working. He seems to be comfortably ahead. And how shameful is that for the Republican Party?
What about Ron DeSantis? What did you think of this launch this last week here with Elon Musk on Twitter?
Was that real, or was that really just a stunt to get attention? Because how can you be running for president and really get such a disaster for an announcement? I think it had to have been a stunt by some PR person going, hey, let's just make it look like a mess. People will know your name, because you can't really talk about his record as Florida. I mean, what a disaster.
We know in Republican presidential politics, in Democratic presidential politics, in the primary, that sometimes the polling leader isn't the person who finishes that way. But for Trump, he absolutely went wire to wire in 2015. Some Republicans are saying this time will be different. Do you think there could be any chance that somebody takes him down this time?
At this point, I think you've got probably on your list 20 people dividing up the anti-Trump vote. So even if Trump falls to 30, that could be enough to win the Republican primary in New Hampshire.
And obviously, abortion is a big issue right now. We saw that in 2022, and the Republican field is feeling its way through this. Now, many of them are migrating towards positions that say essentially we want to set a ban on weeks of gestation here, there. Every time a candidate comes out with this, we see Democrats almost in celebration mode because they feel that what these policies they're adopting are so unpopular. Maybe it wins in a Republican primary, but with an eye on the general election, how does that work out?
New Hampshire is one of the most pro-choice states in the country, and to see these presidential candidates jumping over each other to find out who can be most cruel. No exceptions for rape or incest, life of the mother. Trying to ban it, the procedure up in 6 weeks. Most women have no idea that they're even pregnant at that point. It's just a cruel vote-getting stunt on the Republican side. It has nothing to do with the reality of what the women of America face.
No matter what the message is, the Republicans are out there right now on the ground, meeting voters, doing the things that we see in the primary that makes New Hampshire so unique and also has such a big impact on the way the electorate works here, right? Because these campaigns get out there, they pull voters into the process, and suddenly you have people involved in politics who weren't before. And that's one of the big concerns for Democrats with the first-of-the-nation primary, if the DNC really does try to take this away, that it could impact in some way your ability to organize and do big things here. Let's just talk at first about what Congressman Clyburn had to say. Essentially, many have said, saying the quiet part out loud, that this isn't about diversity, it's about, quote, avoiding embarrassment for President Biden.
Well, perhaps somebody said that to Congressman Clyburn, who is a senior, elder, respected member of Congress. But the reality is just simply not true. Bill Clinton was able to get 84% of the vote. Barack Obama received 82% of the vote. Frankly, I believe that Joe Biden, when this is all said and done, is going to be on the ballot, and he's going to get more than that. For re-election. So I think Democrats are very supportive. Democrats and independents are very supportive of the president's re-election because when, as he says, don't compare him to perfection, compare him to, to the other side. And he looks pretty darn good looking at this group of folks running on the Republican side, which are I'm not that worried about independents being attracted to this. These people are not talking about issues that would attract independents in the Republican primary.
You say you think President Biden will be on the primary ballot. What gives you that confidence? Because right now, as the DNC has written it up, it says no way, you can't put your name on here.
we've got a long time between now and whenever the filing period is, and either December or January, whenever the Secretary of State determines. I feel pretty confident that the President, when this is all said and done, will have his name on the ballot. He will be successful and be reelected.
What about this deadline? Do you think the DNC will punt again to try to give New Hampshire more time? But what they're asking for just can't be done.
Yeah, we didn't ask for this extension. This is something that they created on their own. They'll be meeting mid-June in Minneapolis, but they'll be meeting monthly throughout the rest of the year as they tinker with each of the states' plans. So I don't think that we're going to get a definitive answer. Even if we get a temporary answer, it's all subject to change. Anything can happen between now and then. But at the end of the day, President Biden's going to get reelected in November 2024, and that's really where our focus is. Our focus is about reelecting Congress members, Custer and Pappas, winning the majorities in the legislature, picking up the governor's race, and making sure that that Joe Biden.
You're turning back the clock too far. It seems like the DNC didn't anticipate this situation in which New Hampshire just wouldn't roll over at all, and now they're stuck with this. What do you think? I mean, it's hard to imagine they wouldn't strategize for something like this, and yet here we are.
Well, as you well know, the decision from the White House seemed to have been very last minute, very rushed, and we immediately responded with saying we didn't think it was well thought out, and that just simply wasn't going to work, and that has proven to be true. There
was some national reporting recently on the idea that somebody was floating, I don't know who, but of trying to have the New Hampshire Democratic Party run its own primary in New Hampshire. I'm not sure we've heard anyone actually seriously propose that, but just as an idea, is that something that could ever happen?
No. The voters of New Hampshire, asking them to vote twice within a month, it's ridiculous.
And in terms of an administrative apparatus, I mean, how would you even?
Yeah, it costs well over $10 million to be able to replicate what we do for our elections in New Hampshire, and trying to do it in any other sort of oddball would make it into a farce. People are talking about either having drop-off centers or something like that. That's not an election. That's people are used to voting the way that they've been voting in New Hampshire, and we would have to replicate what had just happened weeks before, and the cost of that would be in the millions. And I'd much rather, if I had such money, spend that electing Democrats in November 2024.
In terms of the defense of the First in the Nation primary, it looks like no one's breaking ranks right now. That phalanx is tight. But what do you think about this constitutional amendment that's been essentially proposed in the legislature? Everybody wants to get up there and kind of defend the primary. Could it blow up in their face, though, if it's something that they don't put money behind, they don't get people to come out? Could this reach that, 2/3 level to get passage for a constitutional amendment?
Well, it is considered by some a very dangerous step because it could end up being used as a weapon against us. Normally, I don't think it's a good idea to give a weapon to your opponents. It could be a strong argument. I know that it passed the Senate. It's before the House now. I hope that cooler heads will prevail.
Is there anything else that needs to be done, do you feel, legislatively, that would help protect the primary?
No, I think Jim Splain's law in 1975 did that quite nicely. As we look at this, we've been saying for years, and we will continue to say, New Hampshire will have the First in the Nation primary.
There's obviously a lot of gloom and doom around this primary fight, but underneath that, some of the fundamentals are looking still pretty good for you guys. You've got your special elections that you've won recently. And I'm curious, you never know what happens after any legislative session. That year one ends, and with 400 members, sometimes people move, things happen. And maybe there'll be pressure not to do that this time around because that majority is so tight. But do you think there's a possibility that before the next election happens, New Hampshire Democrats might flip the New Hampshire House?
Well, we're 2 seats away, and with 2 special elections. By the end of the year, we could be tied, and all it takes is 1 or 2 resignations on the Republican side to flip the majority in the House. And so I feel pretty confident we'll have the majority at some point, either after the election or before the election of 24.
You served in the House. What would a 200-200 look like? How would they even, I guess?
Well, I think we're sort of seeing that now, with Democrats carrying the day on the votes and Republicans holding the titles.
All right. Democratic Party Chairman Ray Buckley will definitely be checking in back with you to see as this DNC situation evolves. We appreciate the time.
Thank you.
All right.